Welcome friends! Today we are making a sticky toffee pudding. Sort of a quintessential British recipe, even though it's actually Canadian. And I'll get into that in a little bit. So first off, I've got some medjool dates, some boiling hot water, and baking soda. And I'm just going to mix that up in this bowl. I'm going to let the dates soak in hot water and baking soda mixture, and they will soften up to the point where you can almost just mush them with the back of a fork. Moving on from that, we are going to deal with the flour and the baking powder. And so I'll just mix the baking powder into the flour. Next up is the butter and brown sugar. So we're just going to cream those together. Now, I say this is a Canadian recipe, sort of tongue-in-cheek a little bit. The story goes that this was developed in England in the 1970s by a hotel restaurant. They say they got it from someone else who was a landlady at a bed and breakfast, and the landlady from the bed and breakfast says she got it from 2 Canadian airmen that were stationed there during World War II. They gave her the recipe because they wanted a taste of home. Now, that kind of makes sense because it really is a very simple recipe, very few ingredients, very simple method. And I have to believe that they sort of knew what the recipe was and their landlady filled in the blanks and created this. Now, it's very close to a date cake that my grandmother used to make, but that cake didn't have any sauce that went with it. And I think the sauce is the key to this recipe. So we're going to cream together this. Next, we beat in the eggs one at a time. Okay, next in is a little bit of vanilla. And molasses. The British recipes all call for treacle. Treacle is not something that is readily available here. I mean, you can get it in the grocery store, but it's not something that I keep in my cupboard. It's not something that most people keep in their cupboard here. So we'll just put a little bit in, and you can use fancy molasses, you could use blackstrap molasses, you could use whichever molasses flavor profile you like. Some people really love that blackstrap molasses. So we'll beat that in. Now we're going to need some milk, so I'll just measure it a little bit here. And we alternate between flour and milk with the mixer. So in with a little bit of flour, about a third maybe. And we'll mix that in. And then we'll pour in a little bit of milk. And we'll keep mixing. And of course, if you need to scrape down the sides of the bowl, scrape them down. That is always a really good practice to be in. Make sure that everything gets mixed together. So we'll add in a little bit more flour. And we'll keep mixing. Looking good. Now, by no means is this the recipe. As I research this, the recipes are all over the map, and I'm trying to nail down, I've got some calls out so that I can nail down some of the original recipes that might have come from Canada to England during the Second World War. Some recipe historians that have access to cookbooks that I can't get on a regular basis. And once I figure that out, I will link to it somewhere, and we'll do a bunch of sort of the originator recipes so you can see what the progression is. The batter's looking pretty good, so at this point, you just stir in the dates and the water that they've been steeping in. Now the batter does get pretty runny and soupy. That's okay. I'm going to cook this in muffin tins. You could cook it in a regular cake pan. My idea with muffin tins is that tomorrow, at the Christmas gathering with the family, everyone can get their own little sticky toffee pudding on their plate. I think it'll make for a really nice presentation. Now it's time to make the sauce. Don't look at the loaves of bread. The loaves of bread are in another video. Today we're making sticky toffee pudding. So the sauce is really easy. Into a pot, you've got butter, brown sugar, some molasses, and you could use blackstrap. I'm using fancy molasses. The British recipes all call for treacle. And in next is a splash of vanilla. And then we need some cream. And goes the cream, and now because Julie's going to ask for it, I'm going to get some whiskey. I think I'm going to use the Canadian Club Rye. And just a splash, not too much, just to give a little bit of flavor. Now, I put this onto the stovetop, and we just heat it gently until everything's melted, and then we bring it up to a boil, and you boil it for a minute. So, pour this into a heat-proof container, and make sure that it's heat-proof because this syrup is hot, and you definitely don't want the glass to break and pour all over the countertop and onto your feet because it would be horrible. So, I'm going to let this cool a little bit, get Julie out into the kitchen, and we'll give it a taste.
Duh.
So, I always think of this as too sweet.
Sticky toffee pudding?
Yeah.
Or is it this? I'm going to trace the sauce first. And? Too sweet?
Yes. I could probably only eat half of one of these.
See, which is funny. I haven't tried it yet, but I have a hard time eating fruitcake and mincemeat.
Yeah, I love
because
those
of
things.
that. I find that too rich.
I could eat those until I explode. But this is so if you think that sticky toffee pudding is,
it's the dates that bring in all that sweetness. Yeah.
If you think of sticky toffee pudding as super dense, this is not super dense. This is really light and airy, isn't it?
I could eat the whole thing. So second bite is an like you like it this time, right? Not too sweet this time.
No, it's still too sweet, but all the flavors are there. I really like the combination of flavors. It's just I know that I would be sick.
You might like it better without the sauce. Maybe you should have tried it without the sauce first.
Maybe I should have tried it without the sauce, but you know the sauce is
that
fantastic.
would mean more sauce for me.
The sauce is fantastic. Okay, so you can make this. I made this in a muffin tray. You could make this in a sheet pan. You can make it in a cake pan. You can make it in a round. You can make it any shape that you want to have it.
It's the same rules as making any type of pastry, right? Or not pastry.
Yeah.
Cake. You just kind of...
I just thought that this would make a nice presentation. Maybe not as nice as I thought it was going to be. I would probably next time make it in a square and just scoop it out.
Lessons.
Yep. So hopefully everyone tomorrow will like this.
Well, you know, my family does have a sweet tooth.
Yep.
I think it'll go fine. Be fine.
So thanks for stopping by.
As long as they don't count them.
Yeah, there is one missing. There is one missing. See you again soon.